got you into that. So tell us a little bit about your tennis journey when you were little, and how it is when your family is so successful. You know, like, so how maybe a little bit about that over the junior years and before you become pro.
Man, I could talk for a while. I got a ton of stories, but you know, I guess the things that stand out is, you know, it was so weird. I as a kid, as a baby, I you know, was on my second passport by the time I was like 2 years old. You know, I was traveling so much and got all these baby pictures of, you know, everyone from, you know, Jimmy Connors, Boris Becker, all carrying me as a child. So I grew up around the game. And I think what was really cool is you see so many tennis parents who really push their kids so much, they end up, you know, not really enjoying the game.
Yeah.
And I think the best part about how my father did it was BJ really just kind of let me develop my own love for the game. You know, he never pushed me into anything, but that would force me to want to say, hey, I want to practice more. Can we play before school? Can we play after? And he played the long game. You know, in juniors, I wasn't very good, you know, at a younger age, 11, 12, 13, 14. I wasn't really winning anything. I think the first national tournament I even qualified for was in the 16s.
Okay.
But when I was 18, I won the national championships. I won Kalamazoo, got the wild card for the U.S. Open, and then went to USC. We won a national title there. My freshman year, I was the most valuable player, and then left shortly after to start playing pro. So my juniors in college, I loved the experience. I think it taught a lot. I think it's just as important to lose in juniors as it is to win. So I think a lot of juniors need to be able to play not only the level they're at, but play players you're better than, and play players you're worse than, because you need to learn how to lose. That's the only way you're going to get better.
I like that, because, you know, I had Coach Peter Smith on, and when we were talking about Stevie Johnson, you know, he said, you know, like when Stevie won everything in college, and then when he came to the tour, that was a shock, like, for him to start losing matches, right? So he kind of processed that probably a little bit late. So as you said, you know, it's, in the early years, it's important, I think, to make experience with that as well.
And I can't say enough about Peter. I was fortunate enough, my freshman year I played for Dick Leach, legendary coach at USC, but I was fortunate enough, one more year I played for Peter Smith.
Nice.
So we built a very close relationship, and Peter's is just a tremendous man.
I love him. You know, when I had him on, you know, he was so kind to me, and you know, he started following me like 9 months ago, and you know, we stayed in contact, and he's a very humble person. And what I love the most, you know, when I talk to him, and I think that's a great approach, you know, to get the most out of your players. And when I teach, obviously I try to do it too. You know, I talked to him about empathy, you know, and then, you know, he stopped me and he said, you know what, Davor, I started to have really big success when it went from empathy to love. So, you know, when he said, you know, he loved his players, right? So I think this is a part missing in our society. I don't see so much anymore. I think, you know, a lot of stuff is business, and I really loved, I connected with him as well, because, you know, the love part and just seeing more in people. You know, when we teach, it's like we are on court and it's easy to scream at a kid, but why does a kid do things? And, you know, this getting behind why something happens is so important, you know?
I couldn't agree more. You know, whenever Peter's brought me back to speak to the players there quite a bit, so I've built a lot of relationships with those players. And whether I speak to young players, whatever it may be, so much of it goes into, like you said, the why. You know, when you figure out the motivation behind why you do things, I think everything else is just semantics. You know, if your motivation is high enough, there's not a single thing in the world that you wouldn't do, that you wouldn't want to do. So for each player, it's different. So I think when you're coaching a team, it's very complicated. You have to get into, you know, what drives them as people, and it's a beautiful thing when players can put that together.
I agree with you. I was reading online, you know, I think there was an article where it had like three ways how your dad lived by and what you got from him. And one thing I really like, you know, and I want to read it, is the height by great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but they while their companions slept were trawling upward in the night. So that stuck out to me. The other two are important too, but this one is so important, and I love that I don't know your father, but he seems like a very wise man, and it's so important, to outwork your companions and the others to achieve great things, right? So basically, if you want to be successful, and that's in every part of life, you need to work harder than the others, and that's one thing I miss in junior tennis. Like I miss that, and I miss that culture too a little bit. I'm from Croatia, and I was born and raised in Germany, and my dad has the same point of views. That's why I brought it up. I like that. I was raised by that, So, and I think this is amazing. I love that. That's why I brought it up.
He's my greatest hero. I always talk about him, and who I have never met, unfortunately, was Muhammad Ali. They were really my two idols. Mm-hmm. And that quote that you brought up, it came from my grandmother, and the whole work ethic that my father has, which is just exceptional, and how much he sacrifices for others, whether it's family or the country, whoever else it may be. It all came from my grandmother. And even to this day, it's crazy to think my grandmother passed away last year. Sadly, she lived just the most spectacular life. But I think about things she did in the 50s, in the 60s, things that no woman had ever done, and the hardships that she overcame. I still think about those to this day, which allows me to, get up at 3 a.m. if I need to train, or go that extra mile in work. So I think the beautiful thing is, not only is it a very beautiful quote, and everyone should be able to find whatever it is that drives them to be able to push that hard, but it's so powerful that it's spread from my grandmother down to my father. It's so strong in me, and hopefully, God willing, I'll be able to embed that in my children too. So I think it's even more powerful when you can get it to stay through generations.
I love that. And talking about generations, so your heritage is Indian, right?
Yes.
India.
Southern part of India. Yep.
Southern part of India. So I have a lot of friends from India.
Yeah.
And I grew up with them when I was younger. And when you're young kids, and I had a different culture. I'm from Croatia, so it's different than the German culture. So you were born in Los Angeles, right?
Born and raised. Yeah.
Born and raised in LA, but your parents gave you obviously the cultural heritage and the ways of living. And when I was younger, my friends, like Norman is one of my friends, and it took me a while. When you're young, you don't understand certain things and habits, and it took me a while. Now afterwards, it's such a gift, because my son is 5 now. I live in the States, and I teach him the Croatian culture and habits, and I think that's such a treasure and gift. And what I wanted to ask you is, when you grew up, obviously, the culture is different. Did that affect, you, or did you have ever people around you that were positive or negative or anything? Did that, how did that play out when you were younger?
I'll give you the good and the bad.
Okay.
Right. I think the good thing, which I would never trade for anything, is you're blessed with two completely different but completely enriching cultures.
Yeah.
There's so much of the Indian culture which is so embedded in me.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I wanted to play Davis Cup for India growing up, listening to the stories of my father representing the country, and it's as powerful in me as you can get. Yeah. But on the other hand, I'm as LA as
I know.
as you can get.
I love it.
And I don't think they need to be separate.
Yeah.
We live in a world where cultures are, so mangled together in a beautiful way. So in that aspect, as a first generation born over here, I think you can mix the two, and it's a beautiful place.
Oh, I love that.
On the negative side, I have encountered, people, especially growing up, who, aren't okay with that.
Yeah.
You have Americans who think you're not American enough, and you have Indians who think you're not Indian enough.
Yeah.
And then you're playing a sport. You're playing a sport like tennis, which, given the history of the sport, the minority races have sort of increased over the years, but predominantly it was a Caucasian sport for so long. So, even though things have changed so much and it's moving in a more inclusive direction, that that's come up too. You know, as I've played sport and stuff where people were not okay with it, and you encounter, you know, some, you know, not very nice situations. But I wouldn't change anything. You know, I was very fortunate enough to have parents that kind of gave me the strength to deal with all of these things, and you try the best you can as you move along.
Yeah, and as I said, you know, like I love the way that you know, as you said, you have totally the LA thing, and then, you know, your cultural background. I think that's important. Of my next question, it's a good transition. Working for Tennis Channel, I think it's amazing because I think, you know, to have you there is some fresh new excitement, a young, you know, young guy. I love watching you on there because, like, I think you know, tennis just doesn't grow by itself. You know, like you doing an Instagram live, all the pros doing it with me, social media, everything needs to work together, right, to grow our sport. And I think like you transmit this important new generation, you know, and I think it's very important. A lot of kids look up at you, and then, hey, Prakash, I had a couple of young kids writing me that, hey, he's from Tennis Channel, right? I said, yeah. See, so I think that's very important. It's really cool, and I think you just a blessing for Tennis Channel. I really like from my part. You know, I don't know the other guys as well there, but I think it's very cool what you're doing.
I appreciate that. Let me give a quick shout out to my Tennis Channel family. You know, it's amazing how much the network and everyone involved love the sport. You know, all the way at the top, Ken Solomon, and then Bob Wiley, Ross Schneiderman, who run everything, and you know, all the amazing talent who I get to work with, who just had the most incredible careers ever. Everyone loves the sport so much, you know, and of course each person has a different voice. You know, when I left tennis, you know, I sunk into acting, so that was what I trained in, and you know, obviously that's still my passion, but you know, I come with a storytelling background, so. You know, Tennis Channel has been so amazing in you know what, do you, be you, you know, run, be free, you know, so even in the interviews, I get to sort of, you know, be myself.
I love that, yeah. We all love that.
My favorite part is just kind of giving the players an opportunity to just be themselves. Because as far as I'm concerned, there are so many stars out there on the ATP side, on the WTA side, the most amazing personalities. So as you know, people in the media, if we can bring even a little bit of them to the forefront, you're just going to bring so many more people to the game. I mean, it's incredible how rich the sport is, especially with the young stars coming up on the ATP and WTA side. I want more of them to be seen. I think it'd be great for our game.
Yeah, and as I said, you know, like, yeah, absolutely love the way you do it, and the whole team, like, is amazing, you know, like, and then when you guys have Chandler, I live in New Orleans here in the U.S., and Chandler is like 2 hours away, and so it's really cool to the dynamics from you guys on Tennis Channel. I wanted to, you know, bring that up, and it's so important to have a channel. Actually, you know, in Europe, we don't have a tennis. Like, I think Tennis Channel is the only place you can watch tennis in Europe. Everything is paid. You have to pay for, you know, like, and I think this is important too in the U.S. That's why. I mean, our numbers still go down, unfortunately, but it's not as bad because I think people can just click on Tennis Channel and watch a match, you know. So I think that's important.
And TC is expanding too, so we're you know, getting bigger out there in the world. So keep an eye out.
Yeah, I love that. So Prakash, you played 2 years of college. You played them professionally, and I think around 150 was your highest ranking. And so you qualified 1 year for the US Open. So how was that experience? Just tell us a little bit, you know, the first time being in a major in the first round, you know, I mean, you know, coming, as I said, you know, from such an amazing tennis family, and then you made it at the US Open in the US first round. So how did you feel in your first match on court there? Like,
well, I was young, you know, when I played that particular US Open that you're talking about. I think I was 18 years old. I had just, you know, like I said, won Kalamazoo. So, you know, that was the dream. You know, you got absolutely nothing to lose. I think I drew Peridor and Chisapan at the time, who was, you know, top 10. He was coming out crazy year, and he was a buddy of mine too, and he was just he was on fire. But it was a great audience. I'm trying to think which court we played on. It was one of those outside show courts with like, you know, those big stands going up one side. Maybe 4 or 11 or one of those courts. But it was amazing. You know, you're practicing with, you know, all the big guys at the Open, and it just kind of gave you a taste for the big time. I mean, those are special experiences. Win, lose, or draw at that age. It makes it special.
Yeah, and then one thing what I found, what I liked in the research, because Federer always talks so highly about Santoro, the magician.
Yeah.
So you played Santoro in the final in the US. So tell us, when you play against a guy like Santoro, like, so, you know, forehand, two hands, you know, like unbelievable hands. I think Federer said one time, like, one of the best hands he ever played against, you know. So how is it to be on court with Fabrice? Because I love to watch him too, you know.
That was an interesting week. So you're talking about the Hall of Fame championships in Newport, and, you know, historic event. You know, I came there as a kid. Dad played it. He won it a few times. So I was having a good week that week. You know, there was a bunch of good players in the draw, and I think I had beaten, you know, Jesse Levine, a couple other guys. I beat Frank Dancevic in the semis, and Frank was playing well. Frank had just beaten Nalbandian at Wimbledon, so he was having a good grass court season. And you know, I played conventional players. You know, a lot of players who serve and volley, and the courts are very soft. So you really want to play old school tennis. Now I'm playing this guy, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? He's at the baseline the whole time. The ball doesn't bounce properly. I'm thinking I'm looking good. And I come out there first game, and I literally, you know, hit and charge on his first serve, a couple of dives at the net. I break him first game. And then I've never been underspin lobbed so many times in my life. I think I may have been up a break in the second set too, but it closed. It was like 4-5, 5-5, something like that. But man, the guy was so calm, so cool. He had beaten Mahut in the final the previous year, so, you know, you won it 2 years in a row. And I've never seen someone on such a sort of low bouncing grass court be so comfortable at the baseline. His hands, his touch, his adjusting after the ball bounces was amazing, and just one of the sweetest guys out there too.
Yeah, I heard that's what I heard too from my friends. And Prakash, so you're obviously super in shape, and you pay a lot of attention to your body. So you know, like, how is in your mind, like, you know, the players out there nowadays, they're so fit, obviously, like, you know, all of them that play on a tour. So how does body, mind, and nutrition, you know, how do those things play into each other, and how did you always pay so much attention, you know, to what you do and how you work out?
So a few different points, all great questions you brought up. So first, I'll address the tennis part of it. Body, mind, soul, if it's not working all together, I don't think you can achieve your max potential as a professional athlete, right? I mean, let's look at the best in each sport. I mean, even if you look at a guy like LeBron, the guy, he's got full-time attention on recovery and the body. Now, I'm not saying you have to spend $1.5 million a year like he does to do it, but you can still give the same attention to it. Now, I'll admit, first when I came on the tour, I mean, you're eating garbage. You're not focusing on your sleep patterns. Because you think you can not sleep and then get up at 8 a.m. and, you know, still play the same. Yeah. And it doesn't quite work like that. You know, later on, I just found I played much better tennis when I was just, everything was geared towards a certain goal. You know, your rest is geared towards this. Your training is geared towards this. Your eating is geared towards this. And then that creates a peace of mind in your mind that allows you to almost feel like you deserve it when you're there at 5-all, 30-all. You know what? I've put in the work. I've put in my sweat equity. I believe I should get this point. I believe this shot should go in. And those little points of belief, I feel make a huge difference. You know, you see it at the highest level. You know, what is it? Why does Novak feel he should be making this shot at 13-all in the 5th set? You know, I think a lot of it comes, sure, he has a tremendous amount of belief, but I think a lot of that belief comes from the work you put in. And that's not just working hard. You go run 100 miles, okay, great. You know, that was just, you know, you just go run 100 miles. But if it can be focused and, you know, you rest the same way, you're thinking about the game the same way, it's a lot to do with it. So I think that goes for a lot of players. doesn't matter which area of the sport you're in, whether you're high in singles, mid, doubles, whatever, it all goes towards fulfilling your potential. But just for everyone who's watching who wants to apply this to their everyday life, I'm not sure if you follow, but I've been writing for GQ for the last, maybe year and a half. And my features each month are focused on sort of inspiration and fitness, but a lot of it is how the physical training is nothing but a metaphor for life. Whatever you train here in the gym translates into everything that you do. I mean, just to think about the little principle of you're lifting a 15-pound weight, right? You can only lift it 10 times. That's just what your body tells you. You keep trying, but you can only lift it 10 times. The second week, third week, maybe you lift it 11. The fourth and fifth, maybe you're lifting 13 or 14 times. You've literally convinced yourself, you've taught yourself that something that your body told you was impossible is now possible. So you're training that belief of you can overcome impossible things. Now that's just one example, but the more of these things you can train, I really feel it translates into life. So that's kind of the reason why I feel like the training is so important. Now, I enjoy weightlifting because as a tennis player, I couldn't weightlift, right? You had to stay sort of skinny and sort of flexible. But so that's why I enjoy this. But even if you enjoy running, Pilates, yoga, whatever it is, if you can challenge yourself and train yourself in that way, I think you just make yourself a more powerful person in everything you do.
No, I agree. And I think, as you said, it is very powerful. The mind is powerful. And, there's certain ways, my friend Izzo Zunic, he works with Magda Linette. She's like 35 in the world. And, like Izzo has his impossible attitude. He has this page. He's an amazing guy. And I learned a lot from him. And he said too, like do an experiment, go 2 weeks in the gym, but don't go like an hour or 2 hours in there when you start, just go 5 minutes every day, and then after the 5th, 6th day, you want to be 6 minutes in there. And then changing habits, as you said, like our mind controls everything. So the changing habits into positive and positivity is important. And as you mentioned earlier, like visualization, I said Novak 13-13 tiebreaker, like they visualize this ball is going to go in, positivity. And that's why I think I'm so fascinated to see whoever is out there and does a great job in the fitness area and the mental part. I try to learn as much as I can. So that was amazing points you brought up there. And then Prakash, when you were playing, I always ask every player, I had Damir Zumor in there, Dusan Lajovic, my friends, like I had a lot of players, Monika Puig. So I always ask them, is there anything you liked to do when you play it? Warm up, drill, anything, I can pass on. I write I don't write a book, but I write every person's answer down. And when I'm done with 100 Insta lives, I'm gonna share that, So there were some cool things, one player said, we always play till 10, and then if it's getting to 3, 6, and 9 are markers, and if you lose the point, if you're up 2-1 and you lose the 3rd point to get to 3, you're back at 0. I like little things to challenge the mind, or like warm-up drills, or anything that comes to your mind you like to do, or tough one. 2-on-1s, cross-court, down the line.
I'll give you one that I did when I was younger, and then one that I did when I was older.
I like it. You're not old.
Oh man, thank you. When I was younger, and man, I did this for years. You're talking about on court, right? Not like
whatever comes to your mind. Whatever you like. Off court, on court, fitness.
I'll give you 3. You can choose, but I'll be quick with it. From when I was young, probably up until my early 20s, every single day I would do like a minimum of like 1,000 jump ropes.
Oh, wow.
And on like training days, maybe like go up to like 2,000. But that was a big thing for me.
Wow.
I would always do and then the whole thing, like moving forward with it, sideways,
double jump, triple jumps.
That was a big thing for me growing up.
Okay.
Used to always finish with that, and so that was one. And then on court, this again I did to the early part of my career. I would at the end of the workout always need to finish with, it would be like 3 balls or 5 balls in like a routine, and you
Okay.
had to hit them all perfect. And if you missed one, you go back and start. It was kind of like, I guess I was young. You just wanted to end on a good note.
Hmm.
So it might have been like, forehand cross court, backhand cross court, forehand down the line, backhand down the line, and then like an inside out forehand.
And
And you
they
have to
all
like,
have to go in, otherwise you do it again until you make it.
they all have to go in and feel good. So
Oh, shit.
sometimes that one drill would take 30 minutes, the way I used to hit back in the day. But then eventually I lost that, and then towards the latter part of my career, which I think is much better,
Hmm.
pick something like that, whether it's 5 balls in that pattern or 3 serves or 2
Hmm.
serves, whatever, and you only get that one shot.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's it. So if you make it, great, you feel great. If you miss it, now you got to go and sleep with that for the rest of the day.
I like that.
I like that much better because that's how I kind of do everything now. Everything you do, you got to think like you only got one shot at it. And then I just think you perform better that way.
I love it. That's something I'm going to add to my notes. I love that one.
I like
And
that.
then Prakash, what I loved when we had the quarantine, and you obviously you have amazing relationship to that, and I love to watch when you were chatting with him, those lives. That was really cool. And then, I mean, speaking to people who have so much more life experience is so valuable, right? So when I'm done teaching 8 hours, sometimes I work out, sometimes not. Depends how I feel. I go, you go in a hot tub and you see the people that are older. I say old, like more life experience. And man, so much value. I just love to listen to people who have so much life experience. It doesn't matter on which areas it is. Some people they're like 85 and they tell you about Vietnam War or like things. Some are pilots and they tell you stories. Like it's just amazing. You learn so much. So just watching you and your dad, unbelievable value. And not just you, like other guys too that took the time and did that. I think it's underappreciated because. In those times when we couldn't do anything on general, like those insights, they're like just amazing. And when you see your dad and he would like ever to do one with me, man, I would be honored. Like I just wanted to ask.
I'll pass it on. I'll pass it on.
I would love that because I think, and as I said, like when you watch those, that's why I love to watch Tennis Channel and what you do, and I think you're perfect in there because it's a combination of information, like great information, fun, seriousness. I think there's everything in there. That's why I like that so much. And
Appreciate that. I love my Tennis Channel family. I can't say enough about them. But thank you for the kind words.
So Prakash, man, I think if you guys if anyone has some questions, you can still ask them. If not,
I did see a few of my Indian tennis boys on there.
Go ahead, tell
Jeevan
them.
was on there, and a dear friend of mine, a big singer actress from India, Anusha's on there too. Sorry, I didn't call you back. But Vishnu Vardhan was on here asking a question. Yes, this is a squat rack, and I'm sure Jeevan wants to know. So here, I'm just gonna give you guys a quick little look. I had to set this up. This was a garage, but I set this up as soon as Mayor Garcetti called lockdown here in LA. So literally, like overnight, I just ordered whatever I could. So we got this in the background over here right now. So
Wow.
let's see if I can do this. All right. So this is for the cardio. Cardio setup right here. We got a little functional trainer for the cables over there, right?
Nice.
And we got a little board here to keep our mind on the right stuff. So we got. See it, believe it, be it. What's your code? You got to earn it every single day. Blood, sweat, and tears. All the stuff that we talk about. We got our dumbbells here all the way through 100. Because we're trying to grow right now. We got a little leg press in the corner, squat rack, lat pull down, and that looks like the amount of weights that you push in the corner.
Wow.
So
you have a whole fitness studio in your garage.
We gotta keep it tight. We gotta grow. We gotta get ready for 2021. If 2020 is holding us down, we just gotta prepare for 2021.
I agree. Who's that?
This is my son. This is Jonah. He's upset. He always gets all the attention, so he just wanted to say hi.
Man, so cute. Love it. Well, Prakash, you see, we got good feedback. I think I didn't screw up, and love the positivity. You know, just great feedback from here. So yeah, again, thank you so much for doing this. I hope to meet you at at the tournaments at some point. I still have a lot of friends, you know, like who play, like Jumu Alaovic, Laszlo Jerry, you know, like all the Balkan people. And I hope to meet you one day.